Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing how to regain power after they dump you. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. Check out my socials for extra content. The links are in the description. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing how to regain power after they dump you. So if you've been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, you need to take back the power that your ex seems to have now. In today's podcast, I'll be discussing 3 ways for you to regain the power after they dump you. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is control the narrative. Now if you don't control the narrative will be written for you, and you need to make sure that you have control over this to increase the chance of your ex regrowing romantic emotional attraction for you, and ultimately get into the stage where they regret the breakup and want to reconnect. But what exactly do I mean by controlling the narrative? Well, there are a few different ways we can look at this, but I would suggest that if you live your life in a way where you are not influencing the narrative in a positive sense, then it will be written by your dumper. Now you might think, well, what exactly does this mean and how can I reconnect? If your ex, the dumper, has ended the relationship, hence they are your dumper, they're going to have lost romantic emotional attraction for you. That is a sad reality. But what this also means is that they are not seeing you in the best romantic light right now. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that they dislike you, although unfortunately, sometimes it might. But it will certainly mean that in a romantic sense, they don't see you as they need to be in a relationship. And therefore, they are setting the narrative that you are not a dateable option. Now, you need to become a dateable option, because if you aren't, your ex-dumper will never want to reconsider their decision. You need to be a dateable option in the minds of other people, but most importantly, of course, your ex. So how can you do this? Well, generally, this falls into 2 categories. First of all, making sure you don't fall into any of the pitfalls that you could easily do as a dumpee. And secondly, making sure that you live your life in the right way. So first of all, we need to avoid the mistakes. You need to make sure you're not acting in a needy way. If you act in a needy way, you are falling into the trap. You are going to be enhancing the narrative that your ex-dumper believes that you are not a dateable option. If you're acting needy, if you're acting desperate, if you're behaving in a negative way, that does not make you a dateable option, okay? Sadly, that is not what you need to be doing. Even though you might feel that you should and that you want to, it's not likely to help. Instead, your ex-dumper is going to be thinking, look, I had this narrative, I had this story, I had this idea of what my dumpee was, and they're falling and playing straight into this. Anybody else who sees this, hears about this, they're going to agree with your ex-dump. Now, of course, it's not really down to them. And of course, there's only one person really that it matters to in this regard, and that is your ex. They are the ones who need to have their mind changed. And they won't if you behave in a negative sense that they almost expect you to. So if you behave in a needy, negative, desperate way, constantly texting, calling, knocking on their door, not taking no for an answer, not respecting their decision, do you think that you are changing the narrative? Do you think you're controlling the narrative? Or in fact, do you think that they are going to be the ones who write the story? They're going to be the ones who say, hey, I dumped this person, and can you see why? I dumped them because they are annoying me. I dump them because they don't listen to me. They don't respect me. They're creeping me out by their behaviour. This, that, the other. If you don't stop the negative things, you will not be controlling the narrative. Now, like I said, there is another side of this. And this is that you need to be enhancing the good things. You need to be living your life in the right way. So not only are you stopping the bad things, but you need to increase the good things by being the best version of yourself that you can be. Growing as a person every single day, becoming a better person today than you were yesterday, and a better person tomorrow than you are currently today. Becoming that version 2.0 of yourself. If you live your life the right way, If you live your life in a way where anybody who interacts with you sees you, hears about you, reads about you, whether this is online, in the local paper, whatever it might be, you are creating a situation where you control the narrative. You control the narrative because anybody who comes across you knows you're a great person. They know you're really into your health and fitness because you're always at the gym, or you're always walking the dog, or whatever it may be. You're going on walks, you're exercising, you're living your life in a way where you're certainly not sitting at home alone with your head in your hands, not caring about your health and fitness. You're controlling the narrative because people see you out and about. Whether it's going for a walk, maybe walking your dog, like I said, or maybe you're at the gym, you're being seen. You are controlling the narrative. If you hide away, then people will have their own ideas about you, and ultimately your ex-dumper will have their own ideas about you. And it won't be pretty, it won't be positive, and it won't be likely to increase romantic emotional attraction in their mind, because they will be creating their own story, their own thoughts and feelings about what you are doing, what you aren't doing, and therefore they will think, I've made the right decision. I didn't want to be with my dumpee, that's why I ended the relationship, and they've proved me right. So, point number 1 about how to try and regain the power from your ex after they dump you, you need to make sure that you control the narrative. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. Please like this video if you're watching on YouTube, and if you have the new hype feature, please hype this video as well. If you like my content, subscribe to the channel to keep updated. And point number 2 is visualize the future. So point number 2 is really important when we are trying to regain the power from our ex. And point number 2 is visualizing the future. And this is creating a vision of the future that doesn't include your ex. Now that might sound scary. If you want your ex back, the last thing you want to be doing, in your mind, is thinking of a life without them. But that is exactly what you need to be doing. Now remember, in point number 1, we were speaking about making sure that you are the one who is controlling the narrative. Well, if you are controlling the narrative, one of the things that you certainly need to be doing is living your life in a way where it is about you and not your ex, focusing on you. And this is what you can do if you create a vision of a future that doesn't include your ex. Now, interestingly enough, if you live your life focused on you, your ex is more likely to wonder about you. So that is a bit of a paradox. But if you put more of your effort and your thoughts on your ex, they are less likely to think of you than if you focus on you. Now, interestingly enough, if and when you're back in a relationship with them, if you were to do that then, you perhaps would lose the relationship that you want. Because when you're in a relationship, you of course need to give your partner time, thought. You need to be giving them that love. You need to be giving them that interest. You need to be living as a way where, yes, you have your own individual interests, hobbies, things that you do on your own, but of course you need to be giving a lot of thought and feeling to your partner. But that's in a relationship. When you're separated, it's completely different. And if you put all of your interest and thought on your ex-dumper, and they know about this, they're going to be creeped out. They're going to be thinking you don't respect their decision. They're going to be more likely to see you in a positive light if you focus on you. And that is why you need to create a vision of the future that doesn't include your ex, a plan of action, a thought that you're going to set goals, targets, aims, and you will achieve them. You're going to have short-term, medium, and long-term goals. In fact, let me know in the comments a few of your ideas about what goals you are going to set. You're going to focus on you, you're going to live your life for you, and if your ex-dumper gets to the point where they change their mind and they want to reconnect and they reach out to you, well, great. Then you have the option, but you might turn them down. But remember, it's not just up to them. You might decide, actually, I don't want my ex back. I've decided that I've outgrown them and I found somebody even better. I don't need them. And therefore, I will continue to live the life I want to live for me. But maybe you will accept them coming back into your life. That is up to you, certainly not up to them. But it's a bonus. It's a bonus of you doing things for you. So remember, this isn't about focusing on them. It's about focusing on you. Visualize a future without them. goals, aims, targets, plans. Follow them, live your life, and if and when they start to think and wonder about you, they're more likely to want to reconnect with you because you're focusing on you, not them. And that is the irony, because like I said, if and when you get back together, you will need to be focusing on them just as much as yourself during that time. But right now, no, they're not with you. They're not your partner. They don't get gold membership because they're not your girlfriend. They're not your boyfriend. They're not your husband. They're not your wife. They are your ex. And therefore, they don't get the benefit, the care, and the attention that you want to give them. They don't get that. Instead, put it on yourself. Give it to you. Give yourself the love that you want to give them because you deserve it and they don't. Now, if you would like advice and support about how to try and increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. Go to my website www.dateme.tips for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. Talking about your feelings can also improve your mental health. It helps prevent the buildup of negative emotions, which can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical health issues. Speak your heart to free your mind. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast. If you feel that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description. And point number 3 is set boundaries. Now remember, today we're speaking about how to regain power after they dump you. And one of the most important things you need to do is to set boundaries. Because unfortunately, some dumpers will end a relationship on the terms that it was originally agreed and basically want to realign those beliefs, values, and principles of that relationship. So what I mean by this is you might be in a long-term committed relationship with your partner. They end the relationship, and then a little bit later down the line, they contact you and they say, hey, would you like to be friends? And you're thinking, well, I don't want to be friends, but maybe this is a back door into the relationship. Well, unfortunately, if you've been friend zoned, you will know how hard it is to get out of a friend zone. It's almost impossible to do from a position of being dumped. Not impossible, but very, very hard. I would never suggest you accept friendship if you have romantic feelings for someone, because they will treat you like a friend. They'll treat you like a platonic friend whilst they go and date other people, and one day you might be invited to a party, to a get-together, oh goodness, maybe even their wedding. You don't want that, okay? So don't accept platonic friendship with anybody that you have romantic feelings for. It doesn't mean you have to be rude. I suggest you say, hey, thanks for asking, but I would always see you as more than a friend, so I'm afraid I can't accept platonic friendship. If you change your mind on this, then please get back to me. But I can't be your platonic friend. You can't be accepting platonic friendship. It's not going to help you. And that is one of the boundaries you need to set. Because if you're not careful, a lot of dumpers will try that one on you because they miss certain parts of your relationship. They might not want the romantic side, but they miss what you bring to them conversationally or other potential elements. It's not fair on you if you accept this, so please don't. But there are other boundaries you need to set as well. Sometimes it can be almost the polar opposite of platonic friendship, and a dumper will contact their dumpee in the future, since the breakup, post-breakup, and say, hey, would you like to be intimate? Do you want to have that type of connection? Do you want a friends with benefits? Now, they probably won't word it like I just have, They're probably going to be a little bit more sneaky in how they try and describe this, but that is what they're trying to do. Now, you need to make sure you don't accept this. Again, if you want a long-term romantic relationship with someone, you can't be accepting friends with benefits. It's not likely to ever be changed back to the relationship dynamic that you actually crave and want. Can it happen? Yes. Is it likely to? No. If somebody dumps you and then tries to realign your relationship dynamic, it's because they want something from the relationship, but not all of it. And if you are not happy with it, you shouldn't accept it. Because if you do that in that regard, what you'll find is you will have an intimate friends with benefits, and then all of a sudden one day, you will hear from your ex, or however you refer to them at that point, and they'll say, look, now I've met somebody else. Good luck in the future, bye-bye. And they'll just go. In fact, some of you might not hear anything at all because you'll be ghosted. because they just saw you as an intimate friends with benefits, no connection, no strings, and they will still be looking for somebody that they deem to be on a romantic level with them. They won't stop looking. So be very, very careful whether you're offered friendship, whether you're offered friends with benefits. If this is not something that you want, please don't accept it. Similarly, you shouldn't be used in any other way. One of the big ones is if your ex-dumper asks to borrow money off you. They shouldn't be receiving money off you unless, of course, you have children together and you're helping out in a responsible way. But this is not a situation where you should be paying for them to do anything. Okay, they should have other people they can speak to, other people they can rely on. If they've dumped you, they've lost gold membership. Now use your common sense. Be a good person if it's absolutely necessary in an emergency. But if they're just asking for some money so they can buy a luxury item that they want, no, they no longer have gold membership of you. They certainly shouldn't be asking to borrow money, because if you refuse the things that you don't want, whether it is a relationship dynamic, whether it is a favour that you don't think is fair, that is how your ex-dumper will start to regain respect for you, and that is how you can finally regain that power.